Bonjour, as the Germans say when they invade France every 20 years. I want to talk about this Neil deGrasse Tyson tweet still, because the internet has gone mad over it. And to me, it was very illustrative as to why our country is so divided. Because two things can be true at the same time. Media can sensationalize mass shootings, and Neil deGrasse Tyson can be wrong. We do not live in a binary world. Both things can be true. Now, I recognize some of you may want to disagree with me, and it's perfectly reasonable to have a gut emotional reaction to disputing me, to saying you're wrong. And I say to you, if you already have that defensive turtle shell up, thinking I'm up to no good, to quote Michael Crichton in his novel State of Fear, everyone has an agenda except me. I have no interest in lying to you. So put down the turtle shell and let's have a nuanced discussion with these Milo Yiannopoulos lookalike sunglasses. Man, these are douchebag sunglasses, aren't they? Media does sensationalize mass shootings. It's undeniably true. I've been in newsrooms when mass shootings occur, and I can tell you what happens. Quick, everybody cut whatever you're doing, put whatever footage we have on the screen. Do we have anything on Twitter? Is anything coming up on Facebook? Great, we got a clip? Okay, run it. Yeah, run it on loop. Forget that story about Trump. Forget that story about South Africa. Run the thing going on in Florida or Miami. Great. That's, we can hear the gunfire. People are running. Brilliant. And yeah, there might be some tragedy in the newsroom. Some people might be some bleeding hearts, some tears. But you know what also the newsroom is thinking? I'm gonna be honest. They're thinking, we are gonna make some money tonight, boys. Because they are. The newsroom is gonna make money off that mass shooting. A lot of money. Why? Because mass shootings are evocative. They're gut-wrenching. They're emotional. People tune in to watch them. And that's all the news really cares about at the end. An individual might care about a tragedy, but the news only cares about whatever evocative or gut-wrenching content they can bring to you. Because they know when they bring you some sort of emotional, gut-wrenching content, we have a tendency to watch. There's a video currently infecting its way through Twitter of a young girl near the border, the Texas-Mexico border. And the camera zooms in close on her face and the tears are running down her. And she's saying, they took my father away. I don't know how I'm going to eat anymore today. And it's a dreadful video. And honestly, my heart goes out to the girl. And she's crying. She's about 9 years old. Just this little 9-year-old girl. Her father's been locked away or deported. She now has nowhere to go, no home, nothing to eat. But I can tell you what actually occurred behind the scenes. The camera's panning in close to the girl's face. And the cameraman's thinking, this is a great shot. Look at that. I'm going to focus right in on those tears. She's saying all the right lines. My editor is going to love this piece of footage. This newsroom is going to be ecstatic. This thing is going to go so viral. And the girl's finishing up her line as she says it into the camera. I just don't know where I'm going to be able to eat tonight. And then, as soon as she finishes that line, click, the lights go off, the camera stops recording, the entire crew picks up, the producer walks off, the camera walks off, leaving the girl just standing there alone, quietly crying. And that's it. On to the next subject, on to the next, hopefully gut-wrenching, emotional topic they can cover. Nobody stopped to take out their wallet and remove just a little $20 bill and hand it to the girl saying, hey, maybe you can get some food tonight. You take it to the grocery store. Nobody thought to call or try to locate some parents or next of kin. No, the media doesn't do that. It thinks about how they can most exploit this moment to get eyeballs, and then it moves right on. It doesn't matter if it's the little girl on Twitter down by the Mexico border, or it's the mass shooting in Ohio or Florida or wherever it is. What they care about, the system, I'm not talking about individuals, the system of media cares about emotional gut-wrenching content, and mass shootings are emotional gut-wrenching. And because of that, they're going to broadcast them. The other half is also true. Neil deGrasse Tyson was wrong. The number that 500 people die of preventable medical errors every 2 days is wrong. The research, that number from the best I can find, poring over medical journals, is based on a 1999 study that is so tenuous and weak that I would be bashful to proclaim that number out in public. And in fact, he doesn't cite any sources, but from the best I can understand, that number is drawn from a 1999 study that examined how many people approximately die that could be attributed to medical errors, and then extrapolated that forward 20 years to the future, to today, bringing that number larger, and then subdividing out by every 48 hours. There is very little controlled experimental science behind that number. And when other researchers have gone back to try to verify that number, they've come to wildly different results. But this came up in the Joe Rogan podcast. Joe Rogan, speaking to his guests, They were talking about the fake outrage behind the Neil deGrasse Tyson tweet. Neil deGrasse Tyson is a scientist. That's what a scientist is supposed to do, is to bring data to the public, especially when the public is in an emotional state and not able to think clearly, and point out that the media is sensationalizing just one part of society that causes a few deaths, when in reality, maybe car crashes cause a lot more. Not maybe, they do indeed cause a lot more per year than mass shootings, or people dying of the flu, or preventable medical errors. Except the intent is noble, but the results are wrong. He got the results wrong. And Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't acting as a scientist in this capacity. He's acting as a scientific educator, a scientific communicator. After all, why do you think he's on the media so much? It's because he's charismatic and articulate. When was the last time you saw Neil deGrasse Tyson publish a study? That's right, I can't remember either. So Neil deGrasse Tyson is mainly a scientific educator, a communicator, and in that role, I think it is reasonable for us to expect the scientific communicator to get their data points correct. Just as we'd like to hold, at least ideally, the media to a higher standard and that they would cover or contextualize mass shootings against a larger backdrop of other things causing fatalities in our society, so too we would like our scientific communicators, especially ones we hold in high esteem like Neil deGrasse Tyson, to get the data correct. But, as I spoke to earlier, the number based on the study that is so tenuous and feeble as to honestly not make it worth publishing or proclaiming. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, when he issued his quote apology, which wasn't really an apology, talked about intent. The intent that my intent was to not rile people up, but to offer a perspective that many other things cause many more deaths in the United States than mass shootings, even though the media focuses on mass shootings. While he is correct in the observation that the media focuses on mass shootings, but what would you like from us? I won't lie to you. People dying is good for television. Television makes money from people dying. And while that may be true, Neil deGrasse Tyson's intent may be noble, it was done at the expense of spreading misinformation. And as I've discussed earlier, intent doesn't count for much in science. Scientists don't win awards for their intent to, lift up the greater good of society. Nobody gives an award for, trying to come up with a drug that cures cancer. You get the award if you actually come up with a drug that cures cancer, or come up with an MRI scan that is more efficient than the previous one. Nobody cares about your intent in the real world. If I had the best intent to deliver this miracle product and help people. No, if it breaks down 9 times out of 10, or the drug is no better than a sugar pill and it might as well just be feeding people dandelions, then it's worthless, it's useless. Nobody cares about the intent. At least historically, the greater society doesn't care about intent. All society cares about is results. And the result of Neil deGrasse Tyson's tweet was that of misinformation. So both things can be true. Mass media can sensationalize mass shootings, and indeed they do, to the detriment of our society. But scientific educators should also be accurate in the information they convey to us. That is their role. That is the pedestal we have placed them on, the honor we have bestowed them. After all, Neil deGrasse Tyson is well aware of how the media operates. Why do you think he's been in the public eye for so long? But as we give them this pedestal, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, to be a scientific communicator, I personally would like to imagine that they get their facts straight. And if they don't, they quickly and honestly retract that information, stating where they were wrong. Anyway, I know some people will want to disagree with me. And in the last video, I had some disagreement over saying, well, how do you gauge medical deaths? And indeed, it is a gray and varied subject. This gets at the heart of why that 500 number is so inaccurate. Nonetheless, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. See you guys tomorrow.